Hello there, welcome to my second video all about the Aliens board game from Leading Edge Games. So my name is Denzin and I'm having a look at a really old game that I loved as a child and love as an adult. Although, should I have loved it as a child? Probably shouldn't have done that really, but never mind. Anyway, so this is the expansion to the Aliens board game by Leading Edge Games from the early 1990s. This was not a box, this expansion was a book, which you can see here. And inside the book was this lovely fold out map and board that we have here, which added a whole new dimension to the game of Aliens. This came out probably around the same time as the actual board game. It came out very, very quickly. In fact, the original board game had a few things in it, such as, if I look at the cheat sheet game card here, that made no sense to the original game, such as facehuggers. There's no rules in the game, the original game, for facehuggers, yet here it is on the card. So that was obviously there waiting for the expansion to come out when they delve into facehuggers a lot more. And facehuggers delve into you. Yes. Now then, with the Aliens expansion, nice little book here. I've got a nice quote there about the Sergeant Dietrich on dead, because this opens up the game by adding alternative scenarios, some which do take place in the movie, such as rescuing Newt from the atmosphere processor. Another is rescuing your Marines who have been dragged away in previous missions, such as trying to escape from the reactor in the processing station. So you might do what Vasquez says, don't leave our people behind. You might want to go back in and rescue those Marines, or you might want to just bug out and leave them to it. And this really adds to the campaign element of the original game. So you can do the original reactor mission, then you can see if your dropship lands, and if it does, get the hell out of there. Or if you lost some Marines, perhaps rearm and then go in force and find them. Or another scenario was hunting for the Alien Queen itself and try and take on the Alien Queen. So this added a new dimension to the game. And if we look through the expansion book itself, we have not only the scenarios, so rules for the Alien Queen. We had rules for fighting her in the power loader in the previous game, but now she's moving around the board, taking on your Marines one by one and ripping them to shreds. So can you take that Queen down? Well, certainly have a go. And we have our scenarios. So the first one is the dropship. Now there's no board section for this because you don't need one. It's a very simple dice roll to see if Spunkmeyer gets ripped to shreds and if Pharaoh follows suit. But if by some miracle they manage to kill that alien without getting acid damage to themselves and crashing, then they can pick up your Marines and you can fly to safety back to the Sulaco. Or, as I say, rearm and go and rescue any Marines you've already lost. So here we have rescuing Newt. Now with that scenario, if you look at the board, we have just Ripley. And Ripley makes her way from the elevator and she has to explore these rooms. So every time she goes into a room, we have a deck of cards and then we see what's in that room. Oh my gosh, it's an alien. So who'd have thought it? So you fight that one alien, which appears again randomly by rolling a die to see where it appears, and then we can take it on. As you make your way from room to room to room, the countdown to Armageddon, when the atmosphere processor explodes, counts down. Obviously, when you get in the red, you really should be in that elevator going back up by then. But each room, if we go through them, this one, facehugger this time. So, as I say, we have the rules for the facehugger on the card here, and we can roll, just like we do for aliens, what they do to you if they land on your square. Hopefully, another alien, Newt, will be in here somewhere, and we can rescue her. Oh no, an empty one. Oh, that's good. That's what you want. But that is not what you want. An alien queen and two aliens. So she's not even on her own. She's got a couple of guards helping her out. And then at the very bottom is another alien. So where's Newt? That's a good question. I don't know. She's around there somewhere. But after a couple of turns you've been in a room, you try and see if there's a sentry appears. So reinforcements arrive. So even though you've been in a room, a couple of turns later, there's a little countdown to see, with a flip of a card, if something else turns up, which is obviously going to be an alien, followed by an alien, followed by a breathing space, which is great. So they will pop up and hunt you down. So there's less aliens when you've got Ripley on her own, but you have that countdown going on. and you've got to try and get your way out as best you can, and off you go. Now, when you do get to the elevator, there is a rule for rolling a dice to see how long the elevator arrives, which could be a few turns, which isn't great when you've got the countdown going on over there. Not good at all. So rescuing Newt allows you to finish that original set of scenarios that you see in the original film, and along with the dropship. But then we have our alternative missions which pop up, such as the Marine Assault, going in full force, weapons blazing, and rescuing those Marines that have been lost previously. The thing about this one is, if you are going in pulse rifles blazing, it adds damage to the reactor, just as Ripley warned, and it helps the countdown move a bit quicker. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But it's a great alternative scenario. If you just want to go into an all-out assault and see how your Marines fare, you may lose more Marines than you ever rescue, but it's a good laugh. Why not do it? And then is hunting the Queen. Actually trying to take on that Queen, just like Ripley has, but with your squad of Marines. And do they do any better? But the great thing is you've got the complete movie scenario, which tells you what order to do the games in, and from the reactor room to operations, to the dropship, of course, in between. And then it adds some extra rules, which are great. Ammunition restrictions, which I think is a great one. So if you've got a shotgun like Hicks, you've only got about 8 shots. So you have your backup weapons as well, so you can swap from one weapon to another. Setting fires with a flamethrower, which will actually block off a square, so an alien can't get to you for a couple of turns. It has to find another route, and that's always a good one. Good tactic in these confined corridors that we have on this particular board. And tournament rules. So if you're not playing on your own, like me, as a sad sack, you might get your pals together, and every Marine you get out, you score victory points, if you survive the entire movie's worth of missions, of course. And there's a few extra added things about throwing grenades and little, I suppose, things that people have asked, like, why can't we do this in a game? Like, can we just like blow up Berg? That would be great. And at the very back, we have our status sheets, which has our weapon reloads. So you've got our characters, our weapons. I mentioned a shotgun. There we go. How many shots do you get with the shotgun? And if we look closely, you can see I probably did draw on this when I was younger and rubbed it out several times. Oh dear. But it's not too bad. I could photocopy that and still use it today. And then the backup weapons, which aren't on the original cards for the Marines. So if the dropship lands and you've got loads of ammo, a Pone pistol is his final weapon there. You can draw out and use. And then we've got a little advertisement for one of Leading Edge Games' actual games themselves that they made. But the expansion was a must-buy. I think it cost about £8 30 years ago. It wasn't very expensive. It is all just paper, really. The board, fantastic reactor board, much more expansive than what we had on the other board from the original game. And multi-purpose as well. So we've got 3 different scenarios from one map, which is brilliant. So a lot of playability here. They've tried to vary the images around the outside again. Probably didn't have as many left over, but all good reactor based, especially the poor cocooned colonists there on the wall, which adds a bit of atmosphere and reminds you of the movie that you're recreating here on the board. Now, in more recent years, we've had A Glorious Day in the Core, haven't we, as a board game? And it follows a similar thing to this old one, you know, because it's the movie, isn't it? They're recreating the movie. It's just got a more of a modern game take on it, I suppose. I haven't really got into that game too much. I've got it, but I haven't had a chance to play it as much as obviously I've played this in the last 30 years. So at first I thought, this is very similar to Leading Edge Games' version. But then I thought, actually, no, it's not, is it, at all? The only thing that's familiar is the fact that it's going to be the same scenarios, isn't it? Because it's the movie. You can't go too far from that. You're still going to have the Marines getting out of operations and out of the reactor and so on and so forth. So the scenarios are going to be the same, but the mechanics, of course, are what's different. And the mechanics to this game are a lot easier, and the game plays quicker. Whether or not it's any fun, or compared to the more modern takes on the franchise. That's up to you to decide. Everyone's different. But I still love my original. I do still have some minis for this game. They did do minis, some lead minis back in the day, which came in plastic cases. I don't have the plastic case anymore, but I do have a bag here of some minis. I should just get these out as a little added extra for this particular video, because they're painted horrifically. Now, I'm not the best painter in the world, I don't mind admitting that, but these were painted when I was a teenager, and they're absolutely awful, so I'm glad it doesn't focus very well on it. But there's Pharaoh. They've all got rather scary pupils. So here we have Ripley. There she is. The minis aren't great by modern standards, but they're not bad for this, because if I put Ripley down there, she fits the board and can move from square to square perfectly fine. Let's put Gorman down there. He deserves to get munched. So they had 2 boxes. There's Newt, so if you want to find Newt, she might be in here somewhere. 2 boxes of Marines they released. This one has Drake in it, so I didn't get the second box, which had Vasquez. But this one has Hicks. There's Hicks there. I think they did a box of aliens, a box of colonists, which I thought was great, actually, because you never really see the colonists. It was great to see the colonists getting eaten. So you got aliens jumping off walls and grabbing colonists. They did the APC, and they also did the dropship. And I believe they did the Queen and the power loader, but they must have been solid pieces of metal. I think the APC and the dropship must have weighed a ton. But at the time, it was quite expensive for me as a teenage lad, so I only got 1 box of minis and kept them, thank goodness, to still have them today. Unfortunately, without the plastic case they came in. But I've got loads of alien-themed minis now from all the different companies that have done it over the years. So I've kept these ones for nostalgia reasons. They never go on the board, really, because, to be honest, if you've only got half the Marines, what's the point? Might as well still use the cardboard standees. But they're a great little nod to the past. I would never repaint them. I think I'll keep that original horrific paint scheme, because it just reminds me of how far I've come. Or not, depending on your view of my painting skills. But that's the Aliens expansion, and that's the end of my 2 videos on the Aliens Leading Edge games. I will do a 3rd video about my 3D printed rendering of these boards as another video, I think, if anyone's interested. But that's this game. Did you play this game? Have you enjoyed it? I think I still play the original board more than this particular board. The expansion never really gets too much of a look in, to be honest. Because why get all your Marines killed when you can just fly off in that dropship and save the day? And then nuke the site from orbit, because it's the only way to be sure. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again.